Well, here we are. Season 2 is about to be wrapped up. And in the studio today, we've got Jenna Clemente, who's my very capable producer. And she is putting me on the spot today as well. So welcome everybody. Jenna and I are gonna wrap up the season. She's gonna perhaps go through all the different people and topics that we've discussed, and we're going to give you a wrap up. So you're up for it, Jenna?
Yes, I'm back for a season 2 wrap up. So I'm excited. I put you back in the hot seat.
In the hot seat, it's nice and hot here. Yes.
You know, you spend all season interviewing everyone else. Now it's your turn to be interviewed.
No,
yeah. Well, we've had a big season.
It was great.
12 episodes.
12 episodes. Yeah.
Oh, how do you feel?
Great. Been a hell of a ride, and
now
we've tried out a few things. We'll talk about it later.
Oh, I know. We've launched some new things this season. Even this episode is kind of a new.
It is a new thing. Yeah, we're on video. How great is that? You know, I'm all right. My hair's all right. I think your hair. Your hair looks beautiful, but you've got the earphones.
Oh, I've written all the questions out. I've
got
it
some
here.
questions for me. Yeah.
And you know what? We've got a lot of episodes to cover. So let's just hop straight into it, shall we?
Yeah, right.
The first episode was a solo one, and you were talking about, business models for long-term success. Going back to your, dig deep.
Yes.
Why do you think it is so important for businesses to get their business model right for, long-term success?
Yeah. Why is it important for a business? So it's basically you want to lay that foundation. You want to understand, and it's important. You want a business model it's very simple. It's what do you do? How's your customers, and how you're gonna create income from that? You're gonna scale it, and I had an episode about scaling as well. Is how are you going to grow it substantially? And then obviously you start a business with the end in sight.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure your business is scalable and then saleable as well. Not that you want to sell your business in 5 or 10 years for that matter. A lot of people say, well, this is for life. I want to retire in this business, and the legacy is going to go on to my family. But you always got to plan something. What will your business be like in 5 years' time? What's the value going to be in 10 years' time? And that's a good basis as well.
Okay.
So it's a good strategic vision as well for.
Would you say a business model is the same as a business plan then? Or do they go hand in hand, or are they two separate?
A business plan would probably differ from year to year. And you look at the economic trends, and you look at what's sticking right now, what's not sticking right now, and your customers' needs are changing. So that's what. But a business model would be a long-term thing. It's more of a strategic kind of plan. You can change your business model, and I think we did mention it at some stage. Like Blockbuster went bust in the 90s. They went bust earlier in the 21st century. Yeah. They just stuck to their own system. Netflix was also in the game before they started streaming, but Blockbuster didn't want to change their business model in terms of to a subscription base, because they thought, no, our business model is working and we don't care about the future. And Netflix actually saw that gap in the market. They saw where the economy is going, so they were changing and evolving the business model to suit what the future is going to be like. Where Netflix, Blockbuster probably said, no, it's all right. We're going to sell DVDs until the 30 or whatever for that matter.
Well, they do say evolve or die.
Yeah.
So I guess Netflix won in that sense. And
you got to adapt.
So the second episode, we had a very special guest return. The first guest to return.
Yeah.
Your good friend Rob Chisholm.
Oh, Rob. Yep.
Yep. And he came on specifically talking about marketing. So how was it having him back in the studio?
Oh, it was great to have Rob back in the studio. He's always, I wouldn't say, well, I can probably say a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
But he's like that wise wind coming in and just like settles everything down and say, okay, guys, relax. I've been around the block a few times and I know I wouldn't say I know. He always says I don't give advice, but
Yeah.
guide you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And he's very. I mean, he's been in business for 50 years for crying out loud. So
Yeah.
he's
You know something.
yeah, he knows a lot of stuff, and specifically in terms of the marketing, we spoke about marketing. So to have that wisdom, come and talk to us, and the principles stay the same. The principles hasn't changed in the
No, and I think
last
one,
200
yeah,
years
the
or
big
last
thing,
2,000 years. Marketing is needs of people. You got to fulfill that needs, and you got to monetize the way that you deliver your product to the needs.
yeah.
That's what's marketing about.
Yeah. Well, I think the big
Mm.
thing that I got from that episode was the difference in marketing and sales and how to kind of marry them up.
Yes.
Um, what would be your take on that?
He was right in terms of marketing. Marketing is the activity you do to attract your sales.
Yeah.
That's what he talked about, and I agree with that. And he also mentioned it's the perception that you put out there for the market. We talked about cars, and we talked about clothing and certain kind of hairsprays that people use. Not that I would know anything about hairsprays. How do you attach value to certain niche markets as well? And then you coordinate it with you. And he talked about the marketing and the sales dance. So it's not going to work if your marketing department is putting in all this work to get a right product, to get a right price, to get everything right for the market, but your sales team is not pitching up to actually, do that eventual sales. It's
Yeah.
like, uh, you know, you you're planning everything, and you're going to buying all the implements to build your house, and you've got your architects there and everything, but your builders and your bricks doesn't turn up. So marketing and sales, I mean, at the end of the day, marketing and sales would then create your products, create your income in your business. Your turnover in your business.
Okay.
So it goes hand in hand, but marketing is the activity for the sales then to actually set everything in, get everything out in motion and actually do the hard sell, and take the money and put it in your bank account.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, who would you hire first? What team member would you hire first, marketing or sales? Or would you hire both of them at the same time?
You probably hire them both at the same time. Some
Okay.
people say, okay, well, when you start out of marketing, do your branding. Depends on your business model again.
Yeah.
What do you want? You want to build a brand first, so then you're going to go out and do your marketing, and you're going to get all the experts in. Is how do you tap into? You're going to do your research. So you probably want to do your research before you start marketing, and you want to do your marketing before you start selling. But you want to tell the people that you're going to
Mm.
sell, heads up, there's a big thing coming. So if,
Yeah.
once the way is it, I want you people out there to take those orders, and getting across the line as well. But research is a big part of marketing, and that's obviously that's putting the horses in front of the cart.
Yeah.
When you want to start selling stuff without, doing decent marketing and doing research.
Do you often find that like a lot of people just going like full steam ahead? They've got an idea.
Yeah,
They think it's great. They don't do the research, and then they come to you and they're like, I don't know what the problem is.
yeah, that's right. You really got to tap into your market. Really got to understand what problems you're going to solve for your client. What pain point are you going to address? How are you going to address it as well? And like I said a little bit before, it's about your business's model is who's your customers and what are their needs, and that's where marketing comes, and it wraps it up beautifully. But like I said, research is a big part of them, and you do see it a lot in business, unfortunately. But I mean, I was the same. And a lot of people I know, who's very successful today, has done the same thing. You think you got an idea, yeah, I can go and sell it, and you start picking up the phone, you go to network sessions or whatever the case might be, and you start selling your product, and then you realize, well, you're actually sort of like barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah.
It's probably not totally fit for the market, but it's all right. That's how we learn.
Yeah, you got to do some sort of research
Yeah, yeah.
and test, pivot, evolve. Yeah, it all
Test,
works
pivot,
out.
evolve. I like TPE.
TPE. Oh, I'm going to steal that now.
The TPE scenario.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I think that's what most business
Test,
owners kind
pivot,
of do. They
evolve. Yep.
pivot, test it out, figure out what's working, what's not
Yeah.
working. I mean, that reminds me of another guest you had, the first digitapreneur.
The digitapreneur. I
Digitapreneur.
still can't pronounce it. We
You've
sort of
claimed
made up.
him.
We
Yeah.
made up. I don't know. It's probably a real world
Yeah.
word. Digitapreneur
Yeah.
is perhaps not a bad name to give old Raf Stamachi.
Yes.
Stamachi.
Yeah. What do you think
Yeah.
from that discussion with him was the most critical mindset shift that made that change from corporate to entrepreneur? And what kind of advice would you give, people looking to make that same shift, especially in tech?
Yeah, in tech is hard. I mean, I was a little bit out of my comfort zone when I've done the interview
Yeah.
because in the past I would see computers and I start running
Yeah.
away. But we have to use it. We have to embrace computers and all the tech stuff with it as well.
It's
But
the way of the future, isn't it?
yeah, but I think Raf had a way of understanding, and I think what helped a lot as well. He worked in a bank the first few years of his career as well. So he really's got a very good business acumen and financial kind of understanding as well. And then he knew about the entrepreneurial mindset is how to, again, scale things, and how important is if you want to draw in the right partners and get the right skills behind you. It's gold for a business, for any business, what you did. And make sure what I took a lot out of that interview was to make sure that everybody knows exactly what their role is.
Yeah.
I mean, there can only be one captain on a ship, so somebody's got to be the captain. That was a really good experience, a really nice interview I had with Raf. I mean, he's so knowledgeable and understand tech and he understand finance, entrepreneurship. So I'm pretty sure anybody listening to the show, they want to soundboard some ideas, and he's always open to just have a chat.
Yeah, amazing. Well, that led into the very special episode 4.
Okay.
What was that?
Oh, I don't know what went wrong there.
No, nothing went wrong. He's very stressed. It was his first video podcast episode.
Yeah.
First time on the camera, first kind of
Yeah.
experience of it. Tell us
Well,
about
I
it.
was on camera before, I guess. I've done
First
an ice bucket
Yeah.
challenge a long time ago, and someone
Oh.
took a video of me.
And really, that's your only experience before being on camera? The ice bucket
No,
challenge?
I probably a bit more than I can chew in terms of decide, okay, we're going to do a podcast that's half an hour long, and I'm going to stand in front of a whiteboard, and I'm going to do all these things. But that's the way with this podcast. We see what's not working, and I think the comments that I receive, and it's perhaps at this stage, it was a little bit too long, but it was a great discussion I had anyway on the video, and that was different.
Yeah, it was about Edward and
Cecilia Green. Yeah. So
and
it's a
lawnmower?
automatic robotic lawnmowers. I'm probably obsessed with lawnmowers.
Just a little bit. We'd always talk about lawnmowers, yeah?
I don't know what it is with me and lawnmowers.
Yeah. But always comes back to lawnmowers.
Yeah.
Lawnmowers or shoe companies. Yes.
That's right. And I didn't even start wearing shoes until I was 21 years old. But I started lawn mowing when I was 6 years old, so that's weird. Anyway, so I sketched the scenario that Edward and Cecilia Green started this. They wanted to start this robotic company selling automatic lawnmowers, turf bots, I call them. And then they went through the process. Okay, how do I get funding, and have we got enough funding? So they've done their research and they've done their numbers, and they went to designers, done a lot of research as well. But the most important thing is that I had to make sure that they were on top of their margins, and that's my philosophy as well in business, is make sure that be impatient to make a profit, but be patient to make to grow your company. It's very important from the start. You got to understand. And when I say profit, doesn't mean you got to make a net profit. I'm talking about a gross profit margin, which is your income minus your direct cost gives you a gross profit. There's always going to be overheads, and a lot of companies only start making profit 2 or 3 years later. But be impatient to get that margin right straight from straight from the start as well. And that is also where your pricing strategies comes in, and you really got to nut down your costing, and you got to understand efficiencies and how they've involved robotics to get a
Margin.
better
Yeah.
efficiencies and
Okay. Well, for those entrepreneurs who are looking to launch a new product and kind of pivot in a new specific niche, what kind of advice would you give them based on, that episode?
based on the episode is to make sure you've done your research, but to make sure about your business model is who's your customer, what are you going to sell, what are their needs, how are you going to address that needs with your product, and what is your point of difference. The case study I talked about, how people said, oh yeah, I looked into automatic lawnmowers, robotic lawnmowers, but it's not gonna cut the mustard for me because I've got to get on the phone to Singapore and change the settings every time. So really give your product some sort of point of difference. Research your costings, uh, your model as well, and make sure that it is saleable and then scalable for future.
Well, there was definitely a lot of diversity on this season, a
Mm.
lot of different industries, because we went into property. I will have to say one of my favorite industries to kind of look into. We had Chris Goodway, who
Chris
is the
Goodway, yeah.
CEO of the Rent Roll Broker. He spoke about, building a portfolio of 1,000 properties.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
madness.
yeah, it's crazy. And I was really out of my comfort zone a little bit as well, like
Yeah.
computers. I mean, it's exciting when people start talking about property. Oh, yeah, I bought property and it grew and I sold it and I made a profit and I paid a little bit
Yeah.
of capital gains and then I sold another one and I'm negative gearing and all that kind. So it's all very very nice, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of different nuances as well involved with business like that. But it was a really great interview I had with Chris. A bit like Rob as well. I mean, he's been around the block a few times, so he knows it ins and out. But the way that Chris explained it to us is you just got to get at, and it's not necessarily buying the properties as well.
No, he is
Is
a
yeah,
property manager. So you'd be
yeah,
managing the property
yeah.
for landlords. The way he explained it, do you see that there is a good profit
Oh,
margin?
definitely, yes.
Yeah.
He talked about the rent roll in specific. You start with get your first hundred landlords basically on the system. Really work hard, organic growth your company, and then at that stage you'll be able to afford a manager, and then it will start growing. And by the time, I think every time you get like another 200 houses, you're almost going to double your profit margin, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So you
crazy.
start with 100, and your 100 you're sort of like break even, but you can afford a property manager and pay yourself a salary as well. And in 200 you're going to make a decent profit. Then
From that, you can turn it into 400.
400,
Yeah,
and
all the way
by
up
the
to
time you're on
1,000.
1,000 properties, which you can do in 10 years time,
Yeah.
you're pretty good. So if average age,
Yeah, I could do it in
people
10
in
years.
their 30s
Yeah.
could retire by their 40.
Wow.
Yeah, if you do it, you work
If you
hard.
work hard, yeah.
Work and apparently my understanding is you work hard for the first 2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
getting that organic growth going,
Yep.
and
Okay.
then you can buy rent rolls as well
Yes,
from
which is
and
what he does.
which is his business. Yeah,
He's the
yeah,
broker between the businesses
yeah.
selling and buying. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
I don't know. Perhaps, I mean, I'll just stuck to the numbers. What I'm
yeah,
doing here now, I love it. It's great. Love talking to people. Love doing podcasts.
yeah,
But hey, anybody out there, and you're never too old, I guess. And you can
yeah.
always make
True.
a change. If
Yeah.
you can
If you
get
have
a
an interest in property, why not?
interest in property as well.
Mm.
And perhaps, obviously you probably know a lot about commercial property. I think that's also a good,
Yeah,
a
it's
good sort of like market
yeah,
as well.
good little thing to look into. It's not
Yeah.
all about residential. You can do some commercial as well. So
Yes.
if you're
Yeah.
serious about it,
That's
hmm.
right. I think if you're serious and you're passionate about something and you got a real purpose,
Yeah, you can make it work.
and
Turn
you
it into
you
a
got
profit.
that business model sorted out,
Yeah. So I love how you kind of structured this season because you started off with the most important thing, which
Yeah,
is, get your business model right.
yeah.
Then you get your marketing right, get your sales right. And then we look at all the different industries because we did have a diversity. And then we went into, the wine industry. Everyone loves a good wine.
Everybody loves a good
So
wine.
it was great
Yeah,
conversation with Tash,
yeah,
something different.
yeah. No, Tash and I had great time. Yeah, in the studio, we talked about how she started the business, consulting, and yeah, background in the wine industry first, and then won some awards as the first female. She's won an award for the first female Australian in a certain field. I can't remember now. Uh, and then she jumped into the deep end. She was on a really good, lucrative salary, and then jumped into to deep end, becoming a wine consultant,
Yeah,
which
well,
was hard work.
no, she did a
Yeah,
massive pivot.
yeah.
And what would you say would be the biggest surprise from her journey and, how other people can kind of, she took her passion of wine and
Yeah,
turned it into a thriving business. And now she even has her own wine. It's just
yeah.
crazy.
She's got her own wine. She's got 3 brands. She's got La Bis, which means kiss in French, as I can understand. And then she got the Thief, which is based in Barossa, and she started a new brand as well, just called Tash.
Yeah,
And obviously, her name is
Tash.
we'll call it Tash, but it's
Natasha.
Natasha
Yeah.
Mooney as well, and her business name is the Wine Architect, and that comes back to what's so interesting is I like the business model as well, and it's almost as she chose the name of the company. It's an architect, as a builder would look at, or a architect of buildings or big parks or whatever would look at a place.
Yeah.
She saw that vision in her business as well, and she saw how she can help other people to create a wine that really is gonna fit the market. Because I mean, I'm living in the Barossa, I know a little bit about wine, but I'm not a connoisseur by far. But I know it's a very very interesting market when you look at the branding and you look at what fits in a wine, and the winemakers really, and this is again marketing, they're really going to understand their market. They're going to understand what people want to eat, what they want to drink with what they eat.
Yeah, because
It's
that's
like,
true.
yeah.
Different wines pair with different food, which is massive
Yeah,
in Barossa. It's all for foodies and winies and
yeah,
um, like you said, she's got three different brands, three
yeah,
different wines, and they're
yes.
all kind of targeting someone different.
That's correct. And
Yeah,
and she's really making good inroads now, specifically with a new brand as well, into New South Wales and Victoria.
amazing.
So that's great. I mean, Victoria's, I think she's been there for a while, but she's really digging into making inroads in New South Wales as well, which is great. But the wine industry is unfortunately suffering a little bit overall.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
mean, I
heard even the
guess,
food and drink industry is really struggling at the moment.
yeah, that's right. Food and people. I don't know what young people drink anymore, because I think it's
Mm,
perhaps in our time we we drank more wine, not expensive wine, but we
yeah.
probably drank a lot more wine. Now it's different kind of drinks that the young people
Oh, it's
like to
yeah, it's
drink
very. I
these
think
days.
seltzers came in, and I don't know if this is a trend here in Australia, but I've
Yeah.
seen in America the non-alcoholic drink is coming in. It's
Uh,
becoming very popular. So not drinking by choice, but you're still drinking something that's similar to a wine, just doesn't have any alcohol in it.
yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to be a new
Well,
trend
I
that comes
guess
in.
I guess it's probably good. I mean, at the end of the day, there's
Yeah.
alcohol is probably not good for your health when you look at it over the long term.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day,
Well,
it.
Australia is built on loving a good drink.
Loving, yeah, we love a good, we like a good drink. Some of the guys like to, a bit more than usual.
Oh,
Some
of
some
course,
people.
but
No, it's and wine is great. It's just how the market has changed. I think a few years ago, people are happy to pay. If you've got a vineyard and you sell grapes, and you got a Shiraz from the Barossa, people were paying $5,000, $6,000 a ton.
Yeah.
for that Shiraz. Today, they're struggling to get $3,000 a ton for that same.
Wow.
But in the meantime, everything has gone up. Your expenses in terms of distribution, your warehousing, your bottling expenses gone up. Winemakers' salaries has gone up a lot as
Oh,
well.
everything.
Cellar hands, vineyard hands, in machinery on the vineyards that you use. Everything is
Yeah.
just so expensive, but the market isn't there. So
Yeah.
we don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen in industry. I think Tash is great, and there's a lot of other people that's got a brand, like property. Like you just got to see that through, perhaps.
Yeah.
What property experience in the 80s
Yeah.
of
True.
of that downward curve
Just
or that
roll with it.
plateau.
Yeah.
Why people are always people always want to be entertained. They always need some sort, and it's the clever people that's going to make it at the end as
Yeah.
well, in terms of make
Yeah.
sure they got a right branding, and you keep on delivering a great product.
Well, I wonder now
Mm.
if people are trying to shift away from, delivering a product where margins are slowly
Yeah.
minuscule and going into the virtual world. And that kind of is what Sarah's done in your next episode. She was a virtual CFO, wasn't she?
She's still she's
She
still
is, she is a
she's always
virtual.
there. She's still there, but she's very much a person. I've met
Yeah.
she's a real
Yeah.
she's a virtual CFO, and which is great, which is actually a great way to for smaller companies to employ if they haven't got the resources for a full-time CFO on the books. um, you get a person like Sarah who's she's really stuck into financial strategy and planning, and really understand what a team needs to focus on in terms of the finances. Probably a bit like me as well. She does a lot of forecasting. She does a lot of risk analysis, which is really part of strategy. Because the way I look at financial strategy is like or business strategy. It's a business plan on steroids, really. A
Yeah.
business plan is perhaps over shorter period. You really dig into your current opportunities, your current strength, weaknesses, and threats. What's your product being be? Perhaps obviously a little bit of strategy in 2 3 years. What's the cash flow like? All that kind of, what marketing do you use? But then you get strategy, which is all those things, but it looks at your global market, looks at what your competitors are doing, where your competitors are going to be in 5 or 10 years' time. Look at your risk. So you do a full-on risk analysis,
Wow.
and what kind of tax you're going to pay.
And she helps with all of that. So
Yeah,
small
that's
businesses
what
can get that.
Sarah's good at, and she's also, I think you've also met her at. Um, she's also a
Oh,
very
she's
good.
everywhere.
She's also a very
She's
good public speaker.
yeah,
Yeah,
she's
she
spoken at a few events actually.
yeah
She's very interesting
she
to listen to.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, and she calls herself virtual assistant, but she's actually really there for It's
Yeah.
nothing virtual about her, but
No,
but the
no,
fact
but
is
that's the
that
term.
it makes it more effective.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can perhaps see 10 or 12 clients a day by quickly checking in with a client over
Yeah.
a Zoom meeting here and there, than getting in your car, getting in to come to your office, and
Yeah,
which
exactly.
I which I believe is also important. That's probably a bit more my style, is getting people into the office, go
Going
out to the
face to face.
factories, have a look. But yeah, but like Sarah is really digging into that virtual space, and using technology in a very smart way to pinpoint certain strategic areas for businesses. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in one of your episodes, you discussed balancing growth and sustainability,
Oh yeah.
and scalability, really.
Scale, yeah,
Yeah.
scaling
So,
your business. Yeah.
what would you say is the biggest mistake business owners make from the very beginning, setting
Yeah.
themselves up for?
Well, I guess let's go back to what we discussed a bit earlier. Our good mate Rob Chisholm from Polaris Business Development. He's got a saying, and I don't think it's him that coined the phrase, but I always associate the words with him. He always says, turnover is for vanity and profit is for sanity.
Yes.
So a lot of people say, I wanna scale, but they don't always understand. And I mean, I don't want to take everybody in the face here, but growth and scale is not the same thing.
No.
A lot of people, they just want to grow their company and go hell for leather, getting as much, building their customer profile out, putting new products on the markets, and just really go hell for leather, getting that turnover up. So what the problem is, you're sitting here with a relatively good gross profit margin of, let's say, 40%, but then you don't really very choosy about your products. So your product, your margin's going to start shrinking. You reckon, it's all right because I'm selling more, I'm growing more, but eventually you're growing yourself into bankruptcy. And the whole thing about growing too fast is you got to pay suppliers, you got to get stock, inventory, and that's going to affect a lot on your cash flow as well. And you always know how I'm going on about cash flow is king
Yep.
and gross profit is queen.
Yep.
So they, a bit like the marketing and sales dance, they really got to dance with each other. They got to make sure that your margins is right, and the cash flow planning is really important as well. Now I've just brought with me to the studio, in terms of the whole scaling thing,
Yes.
a bit of a something I wanted to discuss. I kicked myself. I forgot to discuss it in that interview when I talked about scaling.
Yeah.
So scaling is growing your business in a sustainable way. Looking at all your resources are really putting into the business to make sure that it's really streamlining you for efficiency, for that matter. So you got this sort of graph now, or this matrix that's got 4 quadrants. So in the left one, where you got a big market growth and you got a big market share, and that is your stars of the company. So those are the products that you really want to scale, that you really want to tap into, make sure that they are giving you the right gross margin as well. Then where you go into the left bottom corner is your cash cows. Now that is a low growth rate, but you still got a very good market share in that product. So you're sort of like almost a monopoly in that field, and you're tapping. You call it your cash cows. You can tapping that cash, but that market is probably shrinking away. So you got to start making other plans. So that's probably products that you don't really. You want to keep it sustainable, but it's probably not something that's worth scaling as well. A right-hand corner is a very good growth margin, a growth market, but you've got a small market sort of coverage in there. You've got a small market share in there. And that's what you will call your question marks. And those are perhaps as well products that's really got a big opportunity for scaling as well. So you can really dig into them and say, what's my competitors? What did they do right and I do wrong? Why have they got such a bigger market than share than I've got as well? Because it is a growth market as well. And then obviously the right hand corner is low. You've got a low market share and it's a declining market. It's your dogs. Just throw them out of the window if you can. Not I love dogs, but in business terms we refer to them as dogs.
Yep.
So that's the kind of things that it's just going to cost the business money, and that's perhaps what a lot of businesses don't take into consideration when they're thinking about scaling. Is really looking into their specific products or services, which are the services that actually can be that are scalable, and which are just gonna it's dead weight, it's dead wood in a business, and it's at the end of the day you're just gonna say, okay, mate, Mr. Dog product, you had a good innings. We're just gonna pull stumps and call it a day.
Yeah.
Focus on the efficiencies of the business, and that's how the real formulas for scaling will really bring us some really good
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna
results.
have to dive. I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to revisit it in season 3, I think.
Definitely. I think I'll do a episode specifically, not specifically on scaling or by the way, did I say we call this matrix the BCG matrix? It stands for the Boston Consulting Group,
Yeah.
and it's widely used in big organizations as well when they think about how to scale. What efficiencies as well. And I think it's I know it's all textbook stuff, and I probably bore the hell out of you guys when I talk about this stuff, but it's something that a lot of small businesses should look at as well.
Well, you
Yeah.
did finish off this season strong. You had two very amazing interviews to kind of wrap it up. You had Brad, talking about business structure, the GST master.
He's a
Uh,
GST whisperer, yes.
yeah, whisperer. And then
Yeah.
you also had Natalie and Trevor in studio as well,
Yeah.
who, you know, that was an amazing episode.
Yeah, yeah.
And they talked all about, the
Mm,
future of their business,
yeah.
where it's all going, and even the struggles of, being a married couple
Yeah.
in the same business. And
Well, let's touch on Brad Reynolds first. He's I knew him since 2015 or something, or 16, when I was looking for office space in a Barossa, and I knocked on his door. He was a tax accountant. I'm a cost accountant, so we're not bumping heads. And I said, well, perhaps we can share an office. So that was great. We bounced clients in between us as well, and he's really very capable in terms of business structures as well. What I liked from the interview we had, we talked about, a lot of business owners would go as a sole owner, and a lot of them would go as into a small little company, a Pty Limited, or some of them would go into partnerships with other businesses. But he explained the different advantages and disadvantages of each group you would have as well. In my opinion, I think it's pretty good for any business to have, specifically if you got family and kids, and there's even different shareholders in a company, in the business. So I'll definitely go for a Pty Limited, proprietors limited company.
yep,
People's not going to come and take your house unless
hopefully
you
not.
basically signed yourself away. If you're a sole owner, which is great, there's your taxes is not complicated at all. It's easy to run. You just get an ABN number. You can register for tax. You don't have to register for GST. I mean, if you go over a certain threshold, your sole owners are um, great businesses. It's easy, but the only thing, it's all meshed up into your personal finances, really. So that is perhaps something that people's got to take into consideration as well. Then you get partnerships. I don't know how. I don't think it's very popular anymore because it's a bit complicated,
Mm,
and it's a partnership. I know you might be in partnership with another partner in your business, but you call it your business partner, but you're not. It's not you're not in a specific in a partnership. You're in a business, and you're one
yeah,
direct and the
I
other
think
one's
there's a lot
another.
of horror stories about
But
going into a
but a
partnership.
partnership in a such is it's the structure partnership is I don't know, it sounds a little bit complicated for me because it's you still got to do the partnership taxes, but you got to do your own taxes as well, and people always neglect to put good um, structures in place as well when it's
Yeah.
partnerships.
Well, I
Yeah,
think Brad
yeah.
said it really well in his episodes. If anyone's looking to do
Oh
a
yeah,
partnership,
listen.
go back to episode, I want to say 10.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was 9, I think. Yeah, no, it was. I think it
Nine?
was.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
9.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brad, and obviously I'll say it again. There's a bit of disclaimer on because Brad is a very specialized tax accountant, and he is very good in business structures as well. But uh, don't take everything that Brad says as face value. Really, go and benchmark it about with your own accountant. If you don't have an accountant, obviously Brad can help you with that information as well to go and see him for a consultancy
Yeah.
meeting as well. Yeah, that was a great episode. Yeah,
Well, what was it like
yeah,
having Natalie and Trevor in?
it was great.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, they're really very very special to me. They one of my oldest clients here in South Australia, and they're such a great team. They do understand. They're a married couple, as hopefully you've listened to that one. They're a married couple, and they really understand in terms of their roles who's doing what in the business as well, and really hold each other accountable for the business as well. But I also know their boundaries.
Yeah.
You know, they have to go home. You know, eat a dinner with the kids. You know,
Not speak about
yeah,
business,
go out
which is hard.
go out on a date night every now and again, and
Yeah.
it's not business.
Yeah.
They know where to draw the line. They know when it's time to be at business, and they're very efficient as well. And as well, Natalie is, you know, she's highly skilled in marketing and business acumen as well. And Trevor is you know, very technologically advanced. He loves his metal detecting as well as a hobby that he does, and he's a bloody trooper when it comes to costing and pricing as well. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes we
Yeah.
sit together and we work out costings and pricing and markups and margins and how much you're going to pay your distributors and how much you're going to pay. You know, what is the best retail price for a product. So he's got all that kind of stuff
Yeah, they
sorted as
kind of
well.
just fit perfectly into
They
their
really
roles,
fit.
and
You know,
yeah.
almost like, I guess they're a real good model. If anybody else did, they gave us a bit of advice for married couples who wants to go in business together.
Yep.
Anybody out there that that you know that's got good ideas and they're thinking of starting a business together, yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll be happy to have a
Yeah.
you know,
Sure.
meet you guys for a glass of wine or a cup of tea or whatever,
Yeah.
and discuss some stuff through with you and give you some idea. Yeah, I'm only saying that because I can.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that kind of people that they've got all this knowledge and they really want to help. And then Natalie's got this business as well on the side called A Light Mind, which is in St. Agnes, and it's a mind. She's a mindfulness. She's a trained mindfulness coach as well.
Yeah.
And we talked about mindfulness and manifestation as well. Yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit
A
airy
little bit
fairy,
woo woo.
smoke and mirrors kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they employ her work and her expertise in the business, and it's really helping them to create a, you know, to really manage the team, make everybody feel you know, really feel purposeful in the business as well. And they do as well employ a lot of new technology into the business. They talked about robotics, you know, in my case study when I talked about, yeah, you got to make sure you buy the right machines to help and a team knows where they stand in front of
Yeah.
in this relationship. Nobody gets replaced by a robot.
No.
That means the
How to work
robots
with it.
comes in, do the nitty gritty sort of repetitive work, and the people with the skills, they can do other stuff. They can perhaps help with research. They can help with innovating products. They can speak perhaps to the customers as well. So it's that balance that Natalie and Trev are really really great at doing, and you know, building the company forward as well. So
Yeah, it was an amazing
uh,
episode.
it was great.
Yeah.
It was a great episode as well.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, and then obviously I've done a last one on capital expenditure as well.
yes.
Capital expenditure, and I talked about just me rambling on about how important it is that basically what I've just said about Natalie and Trevor, make sure that technology is there, that you invest money into machinery, better systems, processes as well. But what I like, and perhaps what the people my big takeaway from the thing is, you do your cost benefit analysis, and there's a specific math hack that I talked about. It's the rule of 72. So if you want to buy a tractor, for instance, for $100,000, that means that track you got to, and you want to pay off that tractor. That means you basically got to double that 100,000 in an X amount of years. So you want to decide, you want to figure out what is my return on investment to pay that tractor off in a certain amount of time. So you divide your tractor over, let's say you want to pay it off over 3 years. That means you're doubling your 100,000 in 3 years' time. So you divide 72 over 3 years, and that will probably give you around about a 24-25% return on investment. So you know that tractor has gonna
Basically pay itself off in the long.
pay itself
Yeah.
off in the next 3 years by getting that return of 24% each year.
Yeah.
For instance, what I mean by that is it's hard to work out because you've got a lot of assets in the business, you've got a lot of projects in the business. What is the return on investment? Sometimes it's not that easy to understand, but you can perhaps do a cost benefit analysis. You say, okay, I'm buying this tractor, getting into business, and that tractor is going to save me. It cost me 100,000. It's going to save me $20,000 a year in labor cost. So your return on investment is 20,000. That
Yeah.
means 20% return on investment for
Wow.
that matter. So that's the easy way. And you can also then say, okay, so I've got a tractor, I buy it for $1,000, I've got a 20% return on investment. How long is it going to take me to pay it off? So you take your 72 and you divide it over 20, and that will give you then, 3.5 years or whatever that
Okay.
it's going to take you to pay it off. That's it.
That's
That's
it. That's
season
season
2.
two.
This
Do
is
you want to give any little sneak peeks of what's to come in season 3?
Season 3, yeah. Well, everybody, I'm going to take a little bit of a break now for a few weeks because I've got to catch up with the family. My sisters are flying over to America. I'm going to catch up with my mate in Dallas. My brother's flying from San Diego. We're all going to meet up in Colorado in America. So I'm going to see a bit there. I really want to try and actually, I mean, it's all business. It's all
Yeah.
fun and games. But I really actually want to go and see if I can get hold of some business and just speak to business around that area and see how
Amazing.
they're doing stuff, and see what technology
Yeah.
they use. So perhaps I'll come back with a bit of a bit of nice few little snippets and ideas,
Beautiful.
that we can use as well. So I think so we're going to take a break now. So our first episode for season 3 will only be middle of October, but we will keep you.
In the loop. We'll
We'll
still be
keep you in the loop.
posting.
We'll whack a few, keep you in the loop with nice little snippets on socials. Newsletters is going to go on as usual. Also thinking about, and I know when I'm going to say it, I actually probably got to do it now. But I'm also thinking of putting on our YouTube channel, perhaps. If I say weekly, I probably got to do weekly. I'm probably going to start with
Ooh.
fortnightly little snippets.
Yep.
Stuff that's really important for us to understand. So perhaps the long podcast, 20 minutes to 30-minute podcasts,
Yeah, do some
is a
bite-sized.
bit too long for me rambling on about graphs and formulas and stuff. But every now and again, I'm going to put a little YouTube snippet on there. Is what's the difference between margin and markup, for instance? Gross profit margin. How is 1% increasing in gross profit margin? How is that going to change your outlook on the whole business over a longer period?
Yeah.
So I'll do that, and we will also tell you about a bit of a new product that I've
special's
been working on,
coming.
and I'll shaving it away, and I'll probably come home with a few, implementing this. So that's all going to happen in season 3, which we're gonna.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very big season to come.
Yeah,
Exciting things to come.
It was great, and everybody that's been involved with my podcast, my guests. Make sure I don't forget anybody. Rob and Raf and Chris Goodway and Natasha Mooney and Sarah Ryman and Brad Randall and Natalie Michels and Trevor Ferrareso. You were great, help, and special thanks. Can we give it? It sounds a bit. Special thanks to Jenna here. She's the glue that keeps everything together. You always only hear my voice really, and you don't. But Jenna's the real brains behind this podcast. She's a great producer, and thanks, Jenna.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been great.
Make my job easy.
Been great, and actually behind the scenes today we've got Bob here as well, who's helping with the videos.
Yeah, let us know. What do you prefer, video style podcast or audio style podcast?
Well, they always say I've got a face for radio.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. Because this is a different style of video.
It's a different style. Yeah, I just don't want
yeah.
anybody to have an accident while they're driving, really.
Or they can do it when they're not driving. They can watch when they're not driving.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we might see. Might change a few things up. But anyway, I'll do those little snippets. Will be weekly or fortnightly.
Yeah, so...
and see how that goes. I think it's going to add a lot of value.
Thanks for a
great
season.
Thanks, Jenna. That was a great interview. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. That's a wrap then for the last episode of season 2. We'll see you in the middle of October, and great. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks,
all right.
guys.
Thank you. Cheers.